Hi, welcome. We are coming to you today to talk about high stakes testing at Sweetwater Elementary School. So, you know, your student has probably been talking about the TCAP test. It is coming up next week. We will have 2 weeks of TCAP testing where our students here in Sweetwater City Schools grades 3 through 8 experience the state mandated high stakes testing. And that sounds real scary. And so we want to talk about that today and help you to understand what it all means, and hopefully to give you some tips that will make it a positive testing experience for your child. So the first grade where students take the state TCAP test is 3rd grade. So here our 3rd and 4th grade students will be taking the test in 3 subjects: in English language arts, math, and science. The social studies test has been paused by the state, and so they have been learning social studies all year, but will not experience a test on those standards. The test does just that. It looks at all the standards that are a part of the Tennessee State Standards, and the test measures whether a student is scoring at a proficient level. You know, they don't have to get all the answers right to be okay. Students are scored below, approaching, then on track, and mastery. And the minimum requirement for the state of Tennessee is on track. So students don't have to have a perfect score. They don't even, if you want to translate it into grades, they don't necessarily even have to have an A on the test. That's not what qualifies them to be on track. There's a percentage and a scale score, and they are compared to other students within their own school, and then within school systems that are comparable to Sweetwater city schools, and then also they're compared to other 3rd grade or 4th grade students across the state. And across the board, typically here at Sweetwater Elementary School, our students do well, and they often outperform other students across the state of Tennessee. So we're really proud of that and proud of all their hard work. And so we want them to be able to show that off and not feel a lot of pressure or anxiety about that. So today we've asked our school counselor, Mrs. Weldon, to join us and talk a little bit about how we can reduce test anxiety for our students and make it a very positive experience for them, and one where they feel a lot of success and satisfaction. So thanks for coming today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, Ms. Weldon, maybe we should start with kind of talking about recognizing test anxiety. You know, how do you recognize that in your child?
There may be a different number of ways that test anxiety presents itself between each student, and even in different ages too. It may be different. A lot of times you will hear students say that their stomach's hurting, or that they're nervous, they feel butterflies. Maybe they want to avoid talking about the test, altogether, or maybe that's all they want to talk about. Or if you just see them, kind of keeping more to themselves, or maybe a loss of appetite, things like that. A number of things could, present itself for that test anxiety. But, like you said, that this is not, our students always perform well, and this test is not, a determination of their success or future success too. So
I think that's sometimes a way that they sort of express. I've had students say that to me, well, will this keep me from going to, 4th grade or
Right.
5th grade? And that is not the case.
Right.
Those determinations are not made based on what they do on the TCAP test. But I think sometimes that's a way that they kind of express
Yes.
that sort of fear of failure or the
Right.
consequences. So what would you say are some things that parents could do to help reduce anxiety in their child about the test?
Absolutely. So we've been talking a lot, especially in wellness class this week, about these testing tips. So your children should already be familiar with some of these, and this would be a great conversation for you all to have with them, because they should already know some of these or be familiar. But a big one that I say is always get enough rest. That students should be getting between 8 to 10 hours of sleep, always, but especially right before this testing time. You know, I always tell students that our bodies and our brains are kind of like their Chromebooks, because that's the best way that they associate.
Oh, great.
That they have to be charged up and ready to go to perform at their best. So I've told them, you know, it's important that our brains reset for the day. That way we're able to handle the questions that are coming. We're able to be alert, and we're able to handle that emotional regulation of maybe this test anxiety. Another thing that I would recommend is setting yourself up for success by getting ready early. Stressful mornings really determine what's
the
going
pace
to happen.
of the day.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And
so you don't want to have that bad morning.
Right.
Sometimes kids will come in and say, I just had a bad morning. Yeah.
Absolutely. So wake up on time, set an alarm. That way you can have a calm, peaceful morning. Talk to your child, encourage them, really encourage them to speak positively to themselves. You know, they shouldn't be putting themselves down. And, you know, the way that you speak to them about this test and how well they're going to do and encourage them is so important for them. And another part that I would recommend is also eating healthy breakfast. You know, foods that are going to really fill their stomachs up, help them be full until after the test. That way they're not worried about their stomach growling or just not being able to focus on the test. Kind of eliminating all distractions, things that students could be thinking about other than just this test, you know. So I think that's good. And then I've also encouraged students also to worry about their own work. A lot of times students will create this test anxiety from comparing how they're doing or what number, or worrying about if somebody else is done or if they're not. And, you know, students have to be in there the whole duration of the time that is set for each test. So I've told them, you know, just work on your own pace. We have to be in there the whole time, so it's important that they read the questions, read each passage. If there's a reading passage, read it very carefully. Read all the answer choices very carefully, that they have plenty of time. Pace themselves, that way they're not spending too much time, but to not feel like they're rushing, and that can be a huge help when it comes to eliminating test anxiety or reducing it.
Right, great. And, you know, I've said to students too, it's okay to stop for a moment and just take a deep breath.
Absolutely.
You know, and then let it out.
Yes.
And give yourself a minute. You know,
we've talked
that's okay.
a lot about mindfulness techniques throughout this year. And so, you know, I've prepared students that this is the time that would be great to use those. So if you need to take 1 or 2 minutes just to have a little reset, you know, just to prepare and, you know, get reset to get their brain and mind focused on the test. So those are great things too, just to pause for a couple minutes and then restart.
Awesome. Well, those are wonderful tips. Thank you so much, Mrs. Weldon.
Yes.
You know, we really like to think of our students here as testing rock stars. And you know, that test is like their stage. And they get to get up on stage and be a rock star and show what they know and can do. And we remind them that, you know, you've been preparing all year, coming to school every day, working hard. You're prepared. And so knowing that you're prepared and reminding your child that, hey, you've been working on these skills all year. There's not going to be something new on the test. It's what your teacher has been teaching you all year long. So tell them you're prepared. You know, you've been working, and that will help them too. So, and we are excited about the ways that we can recognize your child's hard work. Of course, their score and how they score will be recognized, but we also let the students know that we have our TCAP Good Faith Effort rubric. And a lot of those things that Ms. Weldon just said, like arriving to school well rested and eating a healthy breakfast and being ready to go, along with their effort on the test, the teacher will observe all that. And then those students, regardless, every student, regardless of how they score, if they have given their very best effort, 100% effort, then we have some really fun, exciting activities planned to recognize that effort. And so I feel like we have really done a great job here to prepare your child, to reduce anxiety, and to make this a positive experience for them. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. And we hope that you'll find this very helpful for your child and your family. Thank you.